In a quiet neighborhood of San Antonio, Texas, where school days usually pass without incident, a shadow quietly stretched over one family and nearly over an entire community. A mother, someone entrusted with the care and protection of her child, took actions that brought the unthinkable within reach. Her 13-year-old son, just a boy on the edge of adolescence, was preparing for a plan that could have shattered the safety of a school filled with innocent students. Ammunition was bought, tactical gear was gathered, and a disturbing path was being set, all with a mother's knowledge, and it would soon come to light that she had played a role in this unfolding tragedy. This is not just a story about a foiled plot. It is a story about warning signs ignored, troubling behavior hidden behind closed doors, and a community forced to confront a reality they never expected. As we unravel the details of this harrowing case, we will follow the investigation that brought Ashley Pardo and her son into the spotlight, a case that raises difficult questions about responsibility, trust, and the cracks in the systems meant to keep us safe. What happened in San Antonio could have changed countless lives forever. Instead, it became a stark warning, a call to pay attention because sometimes the most devastating dangers come from those closest to us. Ashley Pardo was an ordinary mother living in San Antonio, a city known for its warmth and community spirit. But on May 12, 2025, everything changed. Authorities arrested the 33-year-old woman on charges that would send shockwaves far beyond her quiet neighborhood. She was accused of aiding in the commission of terrorism. The reason? Ashley had allegedly supplied her own 13-year-old son with ammunition and tactical gear, the very tools needed to carry out a violent, calculated attack. The target was Rhodes Middle School, a place where children come to learn, to grow, to dream, a place suddenly marked by the dark shadow of a threat almost realized. Her son, still just a child by every measure but with intentions far more dangerous than his years, had begun preparing for an attack that could have devastated his classmates, teachers, and the community at large. The weapons and gear he was provided were not incidental. They represented a level of preparation and intent that no parent should ever enable. This case stands apart not only because of the nature of the planned attack but because of the deep involvement of a parent in arming a child for violence. It is a haunting reminder of the fractures that can hide behind closed doors, and the consequences when warning signs are missed or ignored. As the investigation unfolded, chilling details emerged about the boy's state of mind, the materials found in his possession, and the extent to which Ashley Pardo played a role in what could have become a horrifying tragedy. What began as quiet suspicion quickly escalated into a full-scale response by law enforcement and the school district. This story is a stark reflection of the challenges schools, families, and communities face in a world where danger sometimes comes from within the home and from those we expect to protect the most. On the morning of May 12, 2025, Rhodes Middle School in San Antonio awoke to a day that began like any other but soon would reveal itself to be anything but ordinary. Among the students arriving that day was a 13-year-old boy who would instantly stand out, not for his smile or eagerness to learn, but for the unnerving way he presented himself. Clad in a mask that concealed his identity, a camouflage jacket designed for blending into rough terrain, and tactical pants more suited for a battlefield than a school hallway, the boy walked through the school grounds with an unsettling purpose. This was not the typical outfit of a student, it was a deliberate armor, a statement of intent that would chill anyone who noticed. Teachers and students alike sensed something off, yet no immediate alarm was raised as the boy moved through the corridors. Then, unexpectedly, he left the school premises shortly after arriving, his plans not fully carried out that day, but the danger far from over. What investigators would later uncover sent shockwaves through the community. The boy had been equipped with live ammunition, tactical gear, and other materials vital to executing a violent act, items his own mother, Ashley Pardo, was accused of providing. The tactical vest, the magazine clips filled with bullets, the camouflage clothing, each element spoke to a level of preparation that transcended childish fantasy or idle talk. These were tools carefully gathered to enable an act of mass violence. The equipment was not hidden away recklessly, it was organized and accessible, a chilling testament to the seriousness of the plot. In the days and weeks before that fateful morning, the boy's behavior had already raised significant concerns. He had been found drawing detailed maps marked suicide route plans outlining his intended actions. His fascination with past mass shootings, including extensive research into incidents like the Christchurch mosque attack, painted a portrait of a troubled mind fixated on violence and notoriety. More disturbing still, his grandmother had uncovered live bullets being struck with a hammer, a homemade explosive device, and white supremacist materials in his room. These findings escalated fears and ultimately led to authorities being alerted. When law enforcement intervened, they found loaded magazines, tactical equipment, and extremist paraphernalia, all pointing to a carefully crafted plan that had almost come to fruition. The discovery that the boy's own mother had facilitated access to these deadly tools only deepened the sense of betrayal and shock. The community grappled with the realization that the threat had been closer to home than anyone could have imagined. It was not a stranger lurking outside the school but a child within, equipped and prepared with the help of a parent. As we move forward in this investigation, it becomes clear how narrow the margin was between disaster and prevention. The boy's early departure from the school that day was no accident. It was a moment that saved countless lives. Yet the question remains, how did such dangerous preparations go unnoticed for so long, and what role did parental involvement play in this near tragedy? Shortly after the boy left Rhodes Middle School on that tense morning of May 12th, a chain of events began that would expose the terrifying depth of the plot and bring Ashley Pardo and her son under the unforgiving spotlight of the law. It was the boy's grandmother who first raised the alarm. In the quiet of their home, she uncovered items no family should ever encounter: loaded magazines, carefully stored and ready for use, and a homemade explosive device crafted with disturbing precision. These were not mere toys or harmless curiosities. They were weapons of destruction. The explosive device, improvised and dangerous, spoke to a level of planning that transcended youthful fantasy. It was a real threat, crafted with intent and care. Alongside it were symbols and materials connected to extremist ideologies, white supremacist paraphernalia, underscoring the dark influences that had taken hold in this young mind. Realizing the gravity of what she had found, the grandmother acted decisively. She contacted local law enforcement, knowing that intervention was urgently needed to prevent a disaster. What followed was a rapid and thorough investigation by the San Antonio Police Department. Officers arrived at the Pardo residence, equipped with search warrants, ready to uncover the full scope of what was hidden behind closed doors. Body cam footage from the scene reveals the meticulous process of evidence collection. Investigators seized tactical gear, ammunition, loaded magazines, and disturbing written materials that included the boy's notes and plans for the attack. Each item painted a clearer picture of a violent intent being nurtured within the home. As the investigation unfolded, the weight of the charges against Ashley Pardo and her 13-year-old son began to take shape in the halls of justice. The accusations were grave, reflecting the severity of the planned attack and the mother's alleged role in facilitating it. Ashley Pardo was formally charged with aiding in the commission of terrorism, a charge rarely applied, and one that underscores just how serious the authorities considered her actions. To aid a child in acquiring ammunition and tactical gear for a planned school shooting was, in the eyes of the law, an act with far-reaching consequences, carrying with it the possibility of devastating harm. Her son, whose identity remains protected due to his age, faced charges of terrorism and possession of an improvised explosive device. These charges reflect the dangerous combination of intent and action. The boy was not simply planning violence. He had assembled the tools and materials necessary to carry it out. The legal process began swiftly, with court appearances scheduled to ensure that justice could proceed without delay. The first pre-indictment hearing for both mother and son was set for July 17, 2025. In the interim, Ashley Pardo was released on a $75,000 bond and placed under house arrest, while her son was held in juvenile detention, a stark and sobering reality for both. Courtroom sketches and footage from the Bexar County Courthouse captured a tense atmosphere as the case was prepared for trial. Prosecutors laid out the evidence collected by law enforcement, emphasizing the calculated nature of the boy's plans and the mother's involvement. Legal experts pointed to the complexity of prosecuting such a case, especially given the son's age and the potential for psychological factors to be considered. The charges carried the weight of terrorism statutes, laws designed to punish acts intended to terrorize communities and destabilize public safety. This case also set a precedent in Bexar County, marking one of the first times the county's new terrorism laws were applied to a juvenile and a parent. The ramifications of the trial would extend beyond the courtroom, sparking discussion about parental responsibility, juvenile justice, and how communities can better prevent such plots from taking root. The prosecution's narrative painted a picture of deliberate preparation and dangerous negligence, alleging that Ashley Pardo's actions directly enabled her son's dangerous trajectory. Defense attorneys, while cautious in their public statements, hinted at complex family dynamics and possible mental health considerations that would be explored in court. As the trial date approached, the community waited anxiously, grappling with a mixture of relief that the attack had been prevented and a deep concern about how such a situation could have developed in the first place. This legal chapter in the story highlights not only the criminal charges but the broader social questions raised. How does the justice system balance punishment and rehabilitation when dealing with a child involved in terror-related acts? What precedent does holding a parent accountable for such actions set? As the courtroom battles began to unfold, the weight of these questions lingered, reminding us that beneath every headline lies a human story, complex, painful, and in need of careful consideration. As the investigation peeled back the layers of this terrifying case, experts turned their focus toward understanding the psychological makeup of the 13-year-old boy at its center. What drives a child so young to plan such violence? What thoughts consumed his mind in those crucial months leading up to the foiled attack? Psychologists and behavioral analysts reviewing the evidence found a disturbing pattern, a deep fascination with past mass shooters, a fixation on notoriety that was woven tightly into the boy's mindset. This was not fleeting curiosity, it was an obsession that shaped his worldview and actions. Among the most harrowing pieces of evidence were the drawings found in the boy's possession. One sketch, labeled Suicide Route, detailed an escape plan, a grim itinerary for what would have been the final moments of his attack. The level of detail showed cold calculation, a young mind mapping out violence with chilling precision. Alongside these drawings was extensive research on notorious attacks, including a troubling focus on the Christchurch mosque shootings in New Zealand, where an extremist gunman took the lives of 51 innocent people. The boy's fixation on this massacre suggested not only an admiration for the infamy it brought but a desire to replicate its destructive impact. Mental health professionals involved in the case theorized that the boy was seeking a dangerous form of recognition, believing that through violence he could carve out a place in history. This desire for infamy is a chilling hallmark of many mass shooters, who see their acts as a means of leaving a legacy, no matter how dark. The psychological analysis also revealed signs of isolation and internal turmoil. Friends and family described the boy as withdrawn, a child who had become increasingly consumed by violent fantasies and extremist ideologies. His immersion in white supremacist materials found during the investigation further painted a picture of a young mind grappling with toxic influences. Experts emphasized that this case illustrates how dangerous the convergence of mental health struggles, exposure to extremist content, and easy access to weapons can be, especially when parental oversight fails or, worse, enables the behavior. This troubled psychological profile became central to the legal discussions as well. How much responsibility does a child bear for actions born of such a fragile and volatile mental state? And how does the law weigh this against the real and present danger posed by the child's plans? As the boy's story emerged, it became a haunting reminder of the urgent need for early intervention and the importance of understanding the signs, the drawings, the research, the behavior before they escalate into tragedy. The moment news broke about the arrest of Ashley Pardo and her son, the San Antonio community was shaken to its core. Rhodes Middle School, a place where children had once felt safe to learn and play, was suddenly cast into a shadow of fear and uncertainty. The San Antonio Independent School District moved swiftly, issuing statements to reassure parents, students, and staff that student safety was their highest priority. Officials detailed immediate security enhancements, increased patrols, tighter access controls, and new protocols to monitor potential threats more closely. Every hallway, every classroom became a point of vigilance. But no amount of security could fully erase the sense of unease that settled over the school and the wider community. Parents who once dropped their children off with confidence now questioned what had gone unnoticed. Teachers and administrators grappled with the reality that a violent plan had nearly been executed under their watch. Community meetings were held, and local leaders came forward to condemn the act and to emphasize solidarity against violence. Support networks sprang up, offering counseling to students and families affected by the revelation. The emotional toll was palpable. Students whispered in the halls, some in tears, others trying to make sense of how their school could have been a target. Residents expressed shock, disbelief, and a deep concern about the factors that had allowed such dangerous intentions to develop. How had a child, so young, so close, become entangled in such a dark plot? How could a mother have supplied him with the very means to carry it out? This incident ignited broader conversations within the community. Mental health advocates called for increased resources in schools to identify and support at-risk youth. Law enforcement agencies reviewed and strengthened their communication channels with educational institutions, recognizing the importance of early detection and intervention. The school district also collaborated with local authorities to implement training programs for staff, equipping them to recognize warning signs and respond effectively to potential threats. Safety drills became more frequent, a grim but necessary reminder of the reality facing schools nationwide. Despite these efforts, a lingering sense of vulnerability remained. The community's trust had been fractured, replaced by questions about how such a plot could have grown in the shadows. The incident forced families and educators alike to confront uncomfortable truths about the challenges of keeping children safe in an age where external influences, digital exposure, and familial dynamics intertwine with sometimes devastating consequences. Through it all, Rhodes Middle School endeavored to heal and move forward, committed to fostering an environment where students could feel secure once again. Yet the scars left by this near tragedy would not easily fade. The arrest of Ashley Pardo and her son did more than just disrupt a single family, it ignited a profound conversation across San Antonio and beyond about the responsibilities that parents, schools, and communities share in protecting children and preventing violence. At the heart of the debate lies a difficult question. To what extent should parents be held accountable when their children cross the line into dangerous behavior? This case, unprecedented in many ways, forced lawmakers, educators, and citizens alike to confront the legal and moral boundaries of parental responsibility. Legislators began re-examining existing laws, considering whether current statutes provide enough tools to intervene before plans like this reach a critical point. Discussions swirled around the need for stronger legislation to address not only access to weapons but also the subtle signs that so often precede violent acts. Meanwhile, school safety took center stage in public discourse. Administrators reviewed policies and protocols, asking what more could be done to identify at-risk students and provide timely support. Experts stressed that safety is not merely about fences, cameras, or security personnel, it's about understanding the mental and emotional well-being of every child. Mental health professionals weighed in, emphasizing that early intervention is the key to preventing tragedies. When children exhibit troubling behavior, whether through drawings, research into violence, or social withdrawal, communities must respond swiftly and compassionately. It's a collective responsibility, requiring collaboration between families, schools, law enforcement, and mental health services. Community leaders echoed these sentiments, advocating for greater awareness, open communication, and resources dedicated to youth mental health and violence prevention programs. The consensus was clear: waiting until a crisis unfolds is too late. Prevention must come first. This case became a stark illustration of what happens when warning signs are overlooked or minimized. It challenged society to do better, to watch, listen, and act before lives are forever changed. This heartbreaking case, though narrowly avoided, stands as a powerful reminder of how fragile safety can be and how vital our vigilance truly is. It teaches us that no warning sign is too small, no concern insignificant. Early intervention isn't just important, it can be the difference between tragedy and prevention. If you ever notice troubling behavior, strange talk, or signs of distress in those around you, don't hesitate to speak up. Communities thrive when we look out for one another. Together, we hold the power to stop tragedies before they unfold. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to Crime Network Files for more deep dives into true crime stories and investigations. Your support helps bring these important stories to light and raises awareness where it matters most. Stay safe, stay aware, and remember, vigilance saves lives.